Cove, WBOB.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks.
I'm Emily Hicks, and you're listening to the Elder Law Hour, where we're offering insights and solutions for today's seniors so you can age with confidence. I hope that everyone listening had a great Thanksgiving this year. In the wake of the holiday, I'd like to take a moment to emphasize the importance of gratitude. It's easy for us to get caught up in our everyday hustle and bustle, but acknowledging and appreciating the positives in our lives is a really valuable practice. At least I know it has been for me. So whether it's the comfort of having a home to live in or the companionship of a loved one, cultivating a sense of gratitude can bring us a really meaningful perspective. So beyond the feasting and the festivities of Thanksgiving, it also provides us a really great opportunity for reflection. And in the aftermath of the holiday, I'd love to carry forward that spirit of appreciation and gratitude throughout the rest of this year and beyond. So if we can recognize our blessings, big and small, it truly contributes to our well-being and enriches our outlook on life. So transitioning from the Thanksgiving weekend into the Christmas season, may the sentiment of gratitude continue to resonate in your daily life. We have a great show for you today. We're talking to Donna Lee with the local Alzheimer's Association about how to spot the signs of Alzheimer's and how to communicate with your loved ones that have Alzheimer's. We are also going to be talking to Greg Ritscher and Greg Hummer from JAX Hope, which is a local nonprofit organization helping people with Parkinson's disease. But first, we have Sheriff Hardwick, who is our St. Johns County Sheriff, and he's talking with us about staying safe in public places in the wake of the unfortunate incident, shooting incident that happened recently at Davis Park. So you're listening to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks, and I am so excited to be here today with the Sheriff of St. Johns County, Sheriff Hardwick. Thank you so much for being here and talking to us today.
Emily, thank you for having me on today. Looking forward to your questions and hopefully providing all the answers to you and our community.
Well, you guys do such a great job for our community. We are endlessly thankful for all of the hard work that you guys put in, and the danger and the sacrifice that you make just as a part of everyday working. And I'd like to start off with talking about an incident that happened recently in St. Johns County at Davis Park. Now, as you know, I'm the parent of 3 small soccer playing children, and luckily we were not actually there at the time, but we know plenty of people who were, and it was a really, really scary incident. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to let the sheriff take over. And can you walk us through a little bit of what happened with that? It's quite unusual for us in St. Johns County. And we just kind of feel like we're a little insulated from all of those crazy things that happen out in other places. But when it hit home quite hard for a lot of people. So can you tell us what happened with all of that?
Sure, Emily. First of all, and again, this is I'm going to apologize, of course, to all the people that are listening to this. That I wish it didn't happen. I think if in the perfect world, of course, we are in a great community. We don't have a whole lot of violent crime, and I'm gonna say that's based on the technology-based policing and our young men and women that are wearing the uniform, but also too, it's that partnership with the community. So this particular incident, of course, occurred. It was a Saturday morning. The initial call came in around just before 6 a.m. And at 6 a.m., our deputy sheriffs were dispatched just off of Palm Valley Road up near TPC headquarters to a storage facility, a public storage facility. Anyways, as most common now, of course, a lot of storage facilities have some type of apartment complex, or the person that's the caretaker per se is on the property somewhere. Well, this particular one did. The individual called in and said he heard some noises that he believed someone had broken into one of the storage facilities or hallways, and that multiple units were being broken into. Our deputy sheriffs that work in the Ponte Vedra area, Nocatee area responded. They gained access, of course, to the facility, and they started searching it, of course, trying to dispel or, validate the suspicions of what was going on. As they're walking down, I'm not sure if it was the top floor or the second floor or the first floor, but they actually encounter a female suspect who is indeed breaking into multiple storage units. She complies. They basically secure her, and she starts cooperating with law enforcement, and she gives additional information about a second suspect that was on the scene or had possibly left the scene. And at the time, she gives the name Dustin, I believe is what it was. And then she also gives a description of the pickup truck that she had rode there in to commit these burglaries or these thefts. So right now, we're basically working in, at the time, she does tell us too that he is armed. So an armed burglary, an occupied armed burglary, because of course we have the caretaker living on the property. With our technology-based policing here in St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, our 911 center immediately goes to work on the information that she provided. We end up finding a truck that was similar, registered to a Dustin through our license plate readers up in the Ponte Vedra area. And then we also validated that that truck had not left the area, meaning that we hadn't picked up on the license plate readers that it had left St. Johns County or had left the immediate area. So we knew it was in the area somewhere. So our men and women that work the area go immediately to work. Our property crimes detectives were called out. So they kind of handle the actual original call, which is the burglary in progress. And then our deputy sheriffs in uniform go to work looking for the suspect vehicle. Literally, it's a picture on the license plate reader of the back of the vehicle and the license plate. And then sometimes you can make out if there's, one or two people, of course, in the vehicle besides the driver. So this particular case, it was a very crystal clear picture of the suspect vehicle that matched the description and everything that she gave us, to include registered owner came back to a guy named Dustin. Our deputy sheriff, Deputy Parker, female Deputy Parker, finds the vehicle parked under the west side of the Palm Valley Bridge, which if you don't know now, there's a brand new boat ramp there.
Yeah.
On one side now, it's on both sides. So they're driving around looking, and she actually finds the vehicle, and she does a phenomenal job. Actually, that video is being released. Her body-worn camera is being released as we speak to the media today. But she gets out of her vehicle. She does a textbook approach. She opens it. She validated that. I mean, she knows we're looking for this felony suspect. She opens the door and the fight ensues. Basically, she's trying to tell the man to get out of the vehicle, the suspect to get out of the vehicle. He's not complying with her. He's basically saying, what did I do wrong? Why me? Kind of thing. He's kind of arguing with her. She knows who she has. She's trying to get him out. She makes a decision to back off a little bit and tase him. She actually does deploy her taser, and her taser actually works. And he slams the door on her. She removes her flashlight from her holster and actually breaks the window on the driver's side. And basically now the leads or the wires to the taser are stuck to him. And then now they're slamming the door. So now you have her taser. She lets go of it because it's connected to the actual device. She says later on in the video, the body worn camera, that she suspected he was going for a firearm because as I told you earlier, the female suspect that we had detained had said he was possibly armed, or that he was armed. So now she knows she's dealing with an armed assailant. Anyway, she goes over to the passenger side of the vehicle, and she tries to open that door. She draws her firearm, and she's giving him commands. He makes a decision to take off in the vehicle. The deputy makes a decision at the time to grab the tailgate of the vehicle and going to jump in. Which again, these crazy thoughts go through our minds because we don't want anything else to happen. We want the crime in progress to stop before any more victims are, as this case happens with the soccer field.
Sure.
But anyway, so she jumps in her vehicle. She puts out information. I mean, it's just phenomenal that what she's thinking in the process. She's thinking about the things that she saw, the things that he's doing, the direction of travel. Two other deputy sheriffs, which is Corporal Jonas Carbalusa, and then eventually Deputy DeLay. Joining to the actual car chase because he's taken off towards Nocatee from the Palm Valley Bridge, underneath the Palm Valley Bridge. She is in the lead vehicle in pursuit. The other vehicles kind of do U-turns because they were coming to assist her, of course, when she was out with the suspect. And then the vehicle decides to take a turn onto the road that actually goes into Davis Park, into Ponte Vedra High School. She's behind it. She makes a decision. She's from there. She went to that school. She went to Ponte Vedra High School. She played at Davis Park. She knows exactly what's going on a Saturday morning. She makes a decision to ram the vehicle and then attempt to dismantle it. You'll see in the dashboard camera, because she's one of the deputies that has a dashboard and in addition to her body-worn camera. So she rams the vehicle. The vehicle actually, what she does is when she rams it, it forces the vehicle, instead of pitting it, she was trying to dismantle it. It forces the vehicle basically off into the little ditch there in front of Davis Park, which you know where I'm talking about, that little retention pond there.
Yeah.
You can see the vehicle on the dashboard camera kind of hit the little retention pond, and it comes to rest in that little retention area. She exits her vehicle. During that process, while she's exiting her vehicle, which was dismantled, she's running with her firearm out, and she says on the radio that the suspect has a firearm. He exits his vehicle with the firearm in his hand. And on the video, you'll see too, the park where you all are playing sports at we're going to guess 500 to 1,000 kids and parents. I couldn't even tell you what it was, but it was two full fields, and she's giving up for pursuit. You see the other vehicles that have caught up to her going around her. They don't get out of their vehicles. They kind of chase him on foot with their vehicles, and they kind of lose him for a minute. People are yelling where he's going to. And then if you're looking at the soccer fields, if the closer end or the southern end down by closer to Ponte Vedra High School, if you're going to Ponte Vedra High School, he decides to go in between two vehicles and take up a defensive position. Our deputy sheriffs, stuff happens. I think when you go back and look at stuff and you say it happened for a reason, I believe in that, but also too, it happens because of all the training we do too as well. So you had our deputy sheriffs basically get in between the fence and the vehicles and our children and our parents. And then the other deputy sheriff pulls up. He pulls his firearm out, and shots are fired by all individuals. Corporal Carvalhouse is shot from kind of, if you're looking at from your soccer field, it's kind of shot. He was on the east side of the vehicles. Deputy Delays on the west side of the vehicles. Deputy Parker catches up to them because he's again on foot pursuit. And then shots are fired at our deputies, and of course, deputies return fire too as well. But this is the thought process too as well. You had residents, you had parents, you had them checking on us. You had our deputy sheriffs checking on them. It's just, and then on the body worn camera, you'll see, where your parents, your parents are laying on top of our children on a soccer field. And again, I apologize to our community. It makes me sick to my stomach that we're even here talking about this, because I don't want this to happen in St. Johns County. I want to get out of my professional career one day, and hopefully we never deal with this thing again. But with that being said, our deputies made a decision to, of course, minimize the threat any longer, especially with children and everybody else around. And the suspect eventually died later on that day from multiple gunshot wounds.
Well,
sorry.
It's every parent's nightmare. It has to be you and your guys' nightmare as well. I mean, just bravo to all of the quick thinking of your deputies and for the wonderful training that you guys have, because no one other than the suspect was hurt. You have hundreds of kids, parents. I mean, that location is really a perfect storm. There's a huge church, there's a high school, and then there's a ton of soccer fields and baseball fields. And I mean, it's our worst nightmare to think that someone, I mean, of course, in his instance, it looks like he was just fleeing from whatever crime he had committed. But from the perspective of everyone that was there, they're thinking, oh my gosh, he's just going to start shooting people. And you don't know what to do in that situation. The kids, kids in our schools are trained for this type of thing, sadly, nowadays, which is unbelievable really to think about anyway. But I'm grateful for it. If anything ever did happen, I think the kids are probably better prepared than the parents are. We don't really know what to do.
I have to agree. I hate to, and I think, you can definitely, you know what I'm talking about when you go to schools and you watch little kindergartners that are doing active shooter training. I mean, it makes you sick to your stomach. That's where we're at in this country, and that's where we're at in this world. But it's unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. But these kids, I think you're right, Emily. I think the kids know how to react better to stuff than we do. And I will say this: that we talk about training, and building a training facility that, of course, was paid for with impact fees from the county. And then we talk about the purchase of body worn cameras, which I think we're spending about $450,000 a year. But this is how we get a chance to tell our story, but also we get better at what we do. And what can we do better for our community to protect our community with things we're doing right or wrong? And then, we even talk about things like, hey, Sheriff, why do you need a new helicopter? That's $6 million. Why? Because we protect our community, and our community demand the best out of us, and they demand the best equipment out of us, and they demand a response out of us, and we're going to provide whatever it needs. And so with that, we take this body worn camera, and I get emotional when I talk about it, because our deputies are so amazing, but we spend so much time training. And then when you put this training to use, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. We don't want to kill anybody. That's not what we get in this job for, and why we wear this uniform every day. Matter of fact, our job is to not do this. It's to use everything else. We carry more or less than lethal stuff on us than any probably agency in the world. I mean, we have 40 millimeter firearms that actually shoot a massive sponge round. So there's a lot of things, and our officer involved shootings as your sheriff have gone down since I've been your sheriff, because we're learning to de-escalate. And if we can take a defensive position and there's cars in between us, maybe not in this situation because we have children and we don't know what the mindset is of a person that's high on narcotics. But, if we were to take up the same scenario where no one's around besides us and him, and it's a defensive posture position, maybe we can negotiate. Maybe it's a mental health issue, a substance abuse crisis. So I think we've come a long ways. But again, I'm just going to apologize to the entire community that we're here today even discussing this. But I think our deputy sheriffs, I'm going to stand behind our deputy sheriffs, the decisions that they made. I think it's phenomenal. But I'm going to stand behind our community for their support. It's been overwhelming, emotional, humbling. It's been, and I know now that all this investment that we do with your money as taxpayers is going to protect you. And now you have the trust in me that, Sheriff, what you need to do is pay your deputies more. I get it, but also to provide the best equipment to take care of our children and our families and our visitors.
Well, we're eternally grateful for your actions that day. I mean, you just you can't predict what someone's going to do in that situation. And luckily you were successful in protecting all of the children, all of the parents, the grandparents. I mean, everybody that was there that day. I think we're all very, very grateful for your actions and appreciate everything that you guys do. And yeah, with the technology, I mean, gosh, we have so much nowadays. You guys probably have the coolest stuff. I can understand why you'd want to stay on the cutting edge. If it's available to you, why not do what you can do to keep us as safe as you can?
Well, I'm going to, this topic, when we released his criminal history, I can't believe he's killed nobody yet so far, because he's been so reckless and dangerous in his life with victimizing so many people. I mean, we had people out of another state contact us, and I hate to say it, but it's like, thank goodness he's not going to victimize anybody anymore, because he has just wreaked havoc on this country for years and never for his actions. So it's almost like, I hate to use the word death wish, because I think it just sounds, it's just not the proper word, but it's almost like, when you get on these evil narcotics in life, you'll do anything to survive. But you also don't know, and I think you said a minute ago, Emily, you don't know what his thought process is. He has a firearm. He's not going back to prison. He had done some time in jail before and in prison before. The last place he's going to go back to where he can't get that evil narcotic, that evil drug he's using, is in prison or jail. So again, he's going to do anything he can to survive. It's a survivability game. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks to the quick thinking, nobody was hurt, like I said, and we're very grateful for that. And it's unfortunate, but with someone in that situation, I don't see how you could do anything other than you did. I'm very biased, obviously, towards the safety and protection of the kids and the families. But in that situation, I don't understand what else you could have done from my perspective. So we're very grateful. But thank you so much for taking us through that and letting us know, just how everybody has responded and reacted. And we're, again, very happy that you guys get all the training that you do, because it definitely paid off. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks. I am here with Sheriff Hardwick, and we are talking about crazy situations that luckily avoided a lot more catastrophe. So thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to invest in real estate without the headaches? Look no further than investjacksonville.com, your trusted partner in turnkey real estate investments. With over 18 years of experience, our process has been fine-tuned. And now we're opening up our team to other people just like you. At investjacksonville.com, we're selective about who we work with because we believe in delivering the best. Our dedicated acquisition team scours the market to find the finest properties, while our skilled construction and maintenance team ensures every detail is taken care of. From new roofs to granite countertops, HVAC systems to plumbing and electrical, we leave no stone unturned to make sure there's no surprises. We're in this together with our investors for the long haul. With our first-year guarantee, we put our money where our mouth is. We guarantee your rental rate for the first year, giving you time to build reserves and budget for any surprises that may come your way later. We believe in our construction team and our tenant placement team, which is why we offer this unbelievable guarantee. We're committed to your success and peace of mind. We're passionate about making it simple and easy, and a no-brainer for others to get started investing, because we know what real estate can do for people to reach financial freedom. So if you're ready to invest with confidence, contact Invest Jacksonville today at 904-536-3000 or visit our website at investjacksonville.com. Let us show you why there's nobody quite like us. investjacksonville.com, your authentic partner in hassle-free real estate investing. Contact us now.
Welcome back to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks, and I have two very special guests with me today from JAX Hope, and it is Greg Ritscher and Greg Hummer. And thank you guys so much for being here today.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Well, thanks, for coming on and telling us a little bit about your organization. JAX Hope is an organization that is meant to help people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's and their families. So can you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing?
Certainly. JAX Hope is a nonprofit organization that works with currently about 17 Parkinson's support groups by helping those support groups find the proper resources to help solve the riddle of living with Parkinson's in people with Parkinson's lives. We help come up with speakers. We help find doctors. We help with payment on exercise programs. We do a lot of socialization things, Christmas parties, events like that. And JAX Hope is actually the combination of two organizations that started prior to COVID. But with COVID coming, that put the real kibosh to a lot of these Parkinson's support groups. And so we are trying to make up for lost, 3 years of lost time by facilitating these support groups getting started.
Well, that sounds, COVID was that really threw us all a big curveball, didn't it? I mean, to tell everyone that you can't go out and exercise and socialize is not very conducive to human health.
No, it's not.
It's not at all. But I understand when you have a diagnosis, I mean, that it invokes a lot of fear, because if you're dealing with Parkinson's, you don't really know what medications you may want to take, or certainly vaccinations and, new diseases such as COVID. I mean, that has to really spark a lot of fear within people, I'm sure. So, with Parkinson's, you mentioned that you're solving a riddle, and it does seem to be one of those diseases that no one really understands. So can you tell us, I mean, because it affects everyone quite differently, right?
Yeah, some people it affects their movement. You get stiffness, you get rigid. And of course, the most common is tremors, but not everyone has tremors.
Right.
You have a slowness of your thought process. You can't communicate as well. In your mind, you know what you want to say, but it's hard to say it. And so there's so many variables. You meet one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's. And if you have a group of 30 people with Parkinson's, you have 30 different symptoms that they have. But it's all under this one umbrella that they call Parkinson's disease. And there's also Parkinson's plus, and there's this Parkinson's, which makes it difficult because medicine-wise, it took me personally about 5 years before I finally got on the right medicine recipe to where it started controlling my symptoms.
Okay.
And
that's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, it is. And you find people with the same thing. Sometimes they get it right on, but most of the time they got to try this one or they try that one, which causes expense, of course. But research is going on, and they're trying to pinpoint in the brain what causes it and what medicines will treat it. But that's where we're at now. And as far as the support groups go, we try to, once a person is diagnosed with Parkinson's, we try to get them into a support group or into some type of activity, exercise, boxing, socialization, something to keep them busy. Because the worst thing you can do is when you hear those words, you have Parkinson's, is you go home, you go in a depressed state, you sit, you watch TV, and your progression just gets worse.
Yeah.
But as more active as you get, the more exercise that you have, the more you stimulate the brain, you slow down the progress. Sometimes you can even stop it and slow it completely down. So that's what we try to emphasize with education, and then just information that we give the people.
That's excellent.
If I could add one quick thing to that, we also, JAX Hope, we have a race that we do. It's going to be April 13th.
Yes.
April 13th.
April
in
13th.
Jacksonville. And last year we had, I think, over 800 people participate in that. So we're trying to make Parkinson's front and center. It is the fastest growing neurological disorder in the world.
Really? I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 1 million people in the United States and about over 70,000 in Florida alone that suffer from the disease. Alzheimer's has 5 times, that's not a neurological disorder as much as it is a dementia disorder, but it has 5 million people who suffer from that.
Yeah.
However, when you look at the funding that the federal government provides for research, because there is no known cause and no known cure for Parkinson's, if you take all the research dollars donated to either service, to Alzheimer's or to Parkinson's, it's about $3.5 billion for Parkinson's since the year 2000. It's about 113 billion for Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Now, I may have Parkinson's and math may no longer be a major strength of mine, but I
It's
can
never
do
been a
that
strength of
math.
mine.
I can see that Parkinson's is way underfunded.
No,
It being as
absolutely.
fast growing as it is, the baby boom generation is reaching its peak diagnosis years. We could catch Alzheimer's in 12 years.
Wow. Because
So we've got to
Parkinson's,
do something about the disease.
absolutely. It's not one of those diseases that is under that dementia umbrella like Alzheimer's, right? I mean, it's a completely different disease. And I wonder, why are we so slow to catch up to that? Is it because, I just know from my personal experience with my mother being diagnosed, just the diagnosis for her took well over a year. There's nothing else left. So this must be it. And I don't know how that experience was for you, Greg, or Greg Hummer, but it was incredibly, a long drawn out process. Why is it being left behind? Is it because it's a bit of a mystery still?
Yeah, it's still a mystery. It's just like Greg said, they don't know what causes it. And there's so many forms of it, so many symptoms of it. Myself personally, it was about 6 months. My first symptom was fatigue, which people didn't think anything about Parkinson's fatigue. And then I started the slowness, the confusion sometimes. And one of my last symptoms was the tremors. And if you don't have the tremors, well, they don't think about Parkinson's right away. But
right. And she didn't have the tremors at all, ever.
Right.
So
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was then the progression just got worse and worse. And then finally, I was diagnosed. I got on the right medication and it helped. But then I was unable to work, so I had to retire early. And that's another story. But it's just so misunderstood. And there's more women now being diagnosed. And whether that's because more women joined the workforce in the 60s and 70s, where they were exposed to the environmental things that causes it, they don't know. But I know in our group here in Orange Park, about 40% of our group is women.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you think of it as old man disease, but it's not. They're getting younger, and more women are getting diagnosed too. So,
and do we have any theories on the causes?
Yeah, the theories range from there is a genetic predisposition. There is clearly about 10 to 15% of the people with Parkinson's that genetically there are 7 current genes that they can study and tell you if you have a predisposition to having Parkinson's. There is also a biological correlation. Many people believe that it starts in your gut, in your biome, and works your way up the vagus nerve that runs through your spinal column into the middle section of your brain. And specifically, Parkinson's is when your body loses enough brain cells in a region of your brain called substantia nigra that you can no longer create enough dopamine, and dopamine is the substance that jumps across the synaptic gap from the axiom of one nerve to the dendrite of another. And so whether it's genetics, whether it's environmental toxins, I personally believe that's a large part of it. Where you were, when you were. There is growing evidence that agriculturally based areas, there are more people with Parkinson's in North Dakota and South Dakota than there are in New York.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's an interesting indicator.
Right. Don't even consider population. Why that? Why so many people in agricultural areas? Well, again, I think it's environmental toxins.
The difficulty too with the lack of dopamine is, like Greg Hummer, you were saying before, like you don't want to go sit in front of the TV and be depressed, but you're struggling against the lack of dopamine in your brain. So, which is exactly what you want to do when you are diagnosed and you're not functioning in that way because you're not able to produce the dopamine and have the wherewithal to get up and go out. And I can see how, without resources and community, I can see how it would be incredibly isolating and incredibly difficult because, I think from a personal standpoint, I think that, when my mother was diagnosed, I really, she had been, like you all, very successful in her life. And I think she felt was first, pretty angry, but very alone and didn't really want to reach out. She didn't want to share, So how do you get over that? How do you guys encourage one, that's been diagnosed to make a connection with an organization such as JAX Hope?
Well, I did a lot of Googling, and when I was diagnosed, I lived on the big island of Hawaii. So there wasn't too many resources available. I think we had one neurologist on the whole island.
Oh, wow.
Which is about the size of Connecticut. Since then, they've gotten some more in. But the first couple of weeks was all, getting educated. I found the Parkinsons Foundation, which is an international organization that does a lot of research for Parkinson's. And they gave me a lot of information. And they connected me with a small support group, which we had 3 people join it. But we had 3 people, all had Parkinson's. We could relate to each other. But we found out, I worked at the newspaper in Hilo and I had a contact there, and they wrote up a little story and they wrote up information about our meeting that we were going to have, our next support group meeting. We had 30 people show up.
Oh, wow.
For Parkinson's. And of course, with their wives and husbands. And they had no idea that there were this many people with Parkinson's in our community. So getting hooked up with a good organization like Parkinson's Foundation, and then JAX Hope is more of a regional foundation or organization that helps regionally local people with resources. So I think it's important to just get with people that have it. And some say, no, don't do that first off, because you'll see people in wheelchairs, you'll see people in walkers, and you'll get depressed. But I don't agree. I think you need to get out, you need to socialize and do things. And it's like when you're diagnosed with anything. If you're diagnosed with cancer or heart problems, you go through that period of time where you don't know what's going to happen. But at least with cancer, you're going to do chemo. With heart, they have ways to deal with your heart problem. But Parkinson's, there's nothing. They're just, they guess, we might give you this, or we give you that, or we can do this. So the important thing, I think, is getting into the community and getting involved and keeping active.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, one of the problems with Parkinson's is that most of the medications that you take are neurological transmitters. So they're affecting the middle part of your brain, which is where you reason. Parkinson's, about 85% of the people with Parkinson's suffer from apathy. My wife will ask me, "What do you want for dinner?" And I'll say, "I don't care." And I don't care that I don't care.
Right.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
And it infuriates my wife. She said, if I thought you didn't care, I wouldn't even ask you. I'm trying to ask you, what do you want for dinner? And so that's just a small example of how Parkinson's infiltrates your brain. The other thing that I'll comment on is that we in America are taught from the time we're little people that the medical community knows all, sees all, does all.
Yeah.
That is not true with Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the drugs that they'll recommend, and I went through a series of them, have such negative iatrogenic or unintended negative outcomes to taking the drug. So you're told, oh, take this dopamine agonist that's going to help with the dopamine production. Well, all of a sudden you find out you have constipation. All of a sudden you find out that it's called ICDs, impulse control disorders. And everybody's is different. Yeah. Plus, I don't care that I don't go to a support group, that I don't talk with other people and go, do you have that? Does that bother you? Because in our heart of hearts, we humans want to belong. We want to have a sense of purpose in our lives. And Parkinson's, to a large degree, takes that away from us. Yeah. I might also add there are a number of other very good educational resources. Davis Finney Foundation out in Boulder. Michael J. Fox spends an awful lot of time and energy on research.
Right.
But as I tell people in my support group, I simply started a support group because none existed when I came here to Panama City Beach. But I think that you should think globally, know as much as you can about the disease. You should resource regionally, get other people to help you. Right. But you have to act locally. You have to get off your shaking rear end and go to the support group meetings and the social events that we try and have, the races. We have a golf tournament. We have a caregiver symposium that we do every year.
Oh, okay. Well, if someone that
vitally important,
that it is vitally important because it's incredibly difficult for caregivers in this situation. But if someone out there is suffering from Parkinson's or is a caregiver for someone with Parkinson's, how can they get in touch with JAX Hope?
They can go to the website, jaxhope.org, or we have a phone number at 904-801-5535. And on the website is resources that people can go to in the Jacksonville area if they need transportation, if they need any kind of in-home help. They'll refer you to people. It'll have information on our support groups when they meet, their exercise programs, boxing programs. Each support group in the process of, you click on it and their own little website that you can find out information, whether it's in Orange Park, Panama City, Palm Coast. You can find out the information, their contact information of the people. So it's a local resource for people with Parkinson's to get you connected with that local group that's going to help you live with this thing.
Oh, great. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Greg Hummer and Greg Ritscher from JAX Hope, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the wonderful information that you've given us today. You've been listening to the Elder Law Hour, and we will be right back.
Are you approaching retirement or entering a new chapter of life? Now is the time to consider critical decisions that impact your future and the well-being of your loved ones. As you navigate this transition, ensure you've secured your legacy through proper estate planning. Don't fall into the common misconception that you and your spouse can make decisions for each other in times of legal incapacity without a plan in place. Without proper estate planning, you risk a probate judge making decisions for you, which can be costly and cumbersome for your spouse. Protect your assets and ensure they align with your unique circumstances and objectives. Avoid the default state laws that may not reflect your wishes and could lead to unintended consequences, such as disinheriting your spouse or forcing them to litigate your estate. You also may be considering the possibility of a new relationship after the loss of a spouse. It's essential to enter these relationships with clarity, safeguarding your assets and preserving existing family ties. A premarital agreement becomes crucial in these situations, providing legal protection and clarity. When it comes to your children, thoughtful estate planning is key. Protect their inheritance from squandering, divorces, lawsuits, and bankruptcies. Your hard-earned wealth should be a source of security, not vulnerability. Additionally, plan for long-term care, a significant consideration as you enter retirement. Secure a long-term care insurance policy while you still qualify, and explore alternatives that can convert into life insurance if not needed. Statistics show a 70% likelihood of requiring long-term care after the age of 65, making proactive planning essential. Our team can guide you through this process, helping you replace impersonal state-written plans with a tailored approach that safeguards your assets and family. Don't overlook estate planning as you approach retirement. Book a call with us today to secure your future with confidence. Visit emilyhickslaw.com and book a call today. We'd love to help.
Welcome to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks, where we're offering insights and solutions for today's seniors so you can age with confidence. And I'm very excited for the show today because we are here with Donna Lee, and she's the local program director for the Alzheimer's Association. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of interesting things having to do with Alzheimer's and caregivers today. Donna, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Emily. I am thrilled to be here.
Well, we are very happy to have you because, you know, the holidays are coming up where it's a difficult time of year when you don't have a loved one that is, you know, going through something like this. But when you do, it's extra difficult, right? I mean, what, just in the communication realm, like how do you get started? If you have a loved one who's suffering from Alzheimer's, let's talk about a little, some communication tips maybe, because I've heard that one thing you want to do is never disagree with somebody. Is that right?
So that is absolutely accurate. But before we get into that, let's talk about the actual holidays. You know, it boils down to just expectations.
Okay.
In addition to just everyday, like for instance, you shouldn't argue with somebody that has Alzheimer's or dementia. They don't have the ability or may not have a full capability to be able to recall what's happening right now today. They may be literally living in the moment that is going back in time 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But they physically may not have the capability to come to what your reality is. If they can't come to you, you got to go to them. That's the reason arguing with them just simply agitates them.
Right.
They don't understand. They can't recall that memory. They can't, they just know what they're feeling in that moment. Someone that's not suffering with Alzheimer's or dementia, we have the capability to adjust. They may not. So we need to don't argue with them. If they think it's 1973 and they're living in Seattle, Washington, go there with them. Talk about the weather.
Okay.
Make a reference to the weather.
Right.
Whatever the case may be. Go to their reality because they probably can't come to yours in that moment.
So never argue, just go with it. Kind of like they tell you to do, and I've never taken an improv class, but isn't that what they say? Never say no, that you just go with whatever somebody throws at you. But so it's really, I mean, there's no way for you to really know what they're living through though in that moment. So you really never know where they are in their mind, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. You just don't know where they are. And it can misdirection, redirection, just simply changing the subject are very, very useful tools to be able to keep them from being agitated. And this person is still the person that you know and love. There is still elements and big pieces of that person and that memory still very much intact. They may not be able to express it in words. They may not be able to understand where you are right now. So if they do think they're in, I don't know, Austin, Texas, and they used to ride a horse when they're a child, say, you know what? Tell me about this whatever childhood memory. Recall something that they're living in that moment. Let that be the focal point of the conversation. The whole point is to decrease agitation, decrease further confusion, because the less irritated and agitated that person is, you won't feed off of that energy too.
Oh, that's such a good point.
You know, it's such a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
That person is irritated. It's something you don't understand, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, what's happening in their own memory bank. So of course you feed off of that energy. So the next thing you know, you got two people upset and angry.
Right. Exactly.
So just redirect, course correct in the conversation. Don't you don't want to lie to somebody blatantly, but you can always change direction in the conversation.
Yeah. But the focus is really keeping everybody safe, keeping everybody calm. I mean, because I have some clients that have an elderly mother with, she's just diagnosed with dementia. It's not Alzheimer's in particular, but she always wants to get in her car and drive somewhere. Yeah. And it's a hazard for them because she just 100% believes that she needs to go run that errand herself, and if she can find the car keys, she's going to, take them and go get in the car. So, I can understand how redirection has become very important to them.
Yeah.
But, I can totally see how keeping yourself calm too is a really big part of that, because as the caregiver or the person, if you're not the primary caregiver, even if you're just spending time with them, it's quite difficult to see your loved one change so much, right? I mean,
absolutely. They call it the long goodbye because that's exactly what's happening. Is there's pieces of this person that may not be there, or maybe they're not present in that moment, but maybe they were, I don't know, 2 days ago or 4 days ago, or whatever the case may be. So yes, we need to make sure that we're able to be flexible. We're able to keep the conversation and the situation relevant to them, and to make sure that we're not escalating negative energy and irritation and just agitation about that. And of course, they don't want to be reminded that they can't remember. You don't want to say, well, I told you this, or don't you remember? Well, no, if they've been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, they may not actually remember.
Exactly, yeah. And they don't like to be reminded of that.
Oh, absolutely not. It's such a hard conversation with families, and families are often in denial. They don't want to admit it. And I come from a generation where I was taught, listen, the older people in your family, as they get older and as you get older, the culture, especially, I'm a good Southern woman that has grown up in the South. You were taught the older people in your family, they're going to get to a point where they're probably not going to behave all the time, and they're going to become a little bit difficult to deal with. And,
it's called colorful, right?
Well,
they get a little colorful
that's
sometimes.
Right. But they're not going to be the person that you think they are.
Yeah.
And in my generation, people didn't talk about, is this dementia? Most people still don't even know the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's.
And that's a really good point, because everybody uses those interchangeably, don't they?
And they're not.
They're
not.
So what is the difference?
So dementia, think about dementia as a big umbrella. That Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, and several other types of dementia fall under that. So think about it this way as well. You have the word cancer, the big C word, and then you've got umpteen dozen types of cancer that go under that. Dementia is the same type of umbrella. All the different types of dementia are actually underneath that.
Okay.
Alzheimer's is probably the most recognized. It's the most commonly diagnosed and talked about.
Yeah.
But there's other types that are now being more socialize. For instance, Bruce Willis and his family have brought so much positive awareness and attention to Lewy body dementia, because this is a multi-generational entertainment star. Most people have watched those, well, they don't call them Christmas movies, but I think everybody considers those movies Christmas movies. But people,
the Die Hard movie, it's technically a Christmas movie. I'm like, is it? Okay, right. I didn't realize that until I went to a Christmas party, and everybody had to dress up as a Christmas character, and one of our friends was dressed up as him, and I thought to myself, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? But apparently it is. But yeah, he's a huge star, so it's for the awareness is great.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, people are now they're researching it. 30 years ago, 50 years ago, you didn't have the internet. You couldn't get information. If you got medical information, you either had to go to a library or go find some sort of printed hardback book somewhere to find information, or you spoke with your primary care physician or just whatever medical professional that you came in contact with. Now you can research everything, and there's so much more information.
Yeah.
So the more that we can socialize this, and years ago, generations, myself included, we were taught if someone developed dementia, that was a immediate death sentence. It was this horrible life, and just there was nothing positive, and just and while there is some element of that can be true today, with the help of just awareness situations, being able to be in conversation, Alzheimer's and dementia does not have to be as bad as it was. Right. That's just part of what we're talking about today. There are resources and just availability of information to make the caregiving journey better.
Well, that's a really good point. We talked about on a previous show, Robin Williams.
Yes.
Now, is it true? I've heard this, but I don't know that he was diagnosed. I mean, you're obviously not his doctor, but I have heard that he had gotten diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, and that contributed a lot to his depression and eventual suicide. But I don't know if that, I don't know the facts of that. But certainly with Bruce Willis, it's really interesting that he has, because, older generation, I mean, people like to keep things private.
They do.
I mean, with my mom, when she got sick, she did not tell anybody, and we did not tell anybody because we were scared of making her mad, because she was an extremely private person. And, what ended up happening was she just kind of dropped off of her social activities. So that was one clue for us, that, okay, something's going on here. But I know there's a lot of warning signs, right?
So that is, I am so glad that you mentioned that. The withdrawing from social activities is one of the probably first most commonly noticed triggers and warning signs that there is something going on cognitively. And think about it like this. You've got somebody that has been active in, whether it's family, friends, church, playing bingo, whatever the case may be. Maybe this person is now retired and they've settled into volunteer work, or they're very, very active in their faith-based community, or just whatever it is. But then you start to notice, wow, they're not going to all the stuff, and they're not doing all the same things. Very, very clear warning sign. So like some of the other 10 warning signs that the Alzheimer's Association teaches is when you see a disruption of daily life, and that's a very, very key phrase here, a disruption of daily life because of cognitive or memory issues. That's when you want to start just kind of saying, let's get a conversation with the primary care physician. Let's get this to a medical professional to see, are we seeing just simply aging, or are we seeing, warning signs and triggers that this could be a dementia or Alzheimer's conversation.
Right.
Some of the other things is also just a lack of just cognitive activities. All of us should be keeping our brain active. Now, granted, all of us that are still working and stuff like this, we don't probably need to find stuff that's challenging our brain because we probably do it every day.
Sure.
But maybe somebody that doesn't have a very, very demanding, challenging cognitive situation every single day, playing games on your phone, keeping involved with like crossword puzzles or word searches, things like that.
Yeah.
But we settle in. And if we've got a game on our phone and we're just going level after level and it's just super simple, if we're not mad at it, It's not challenging enough. If we're not ready to throw it out the window, something like that.
So you really need to up your level.
Yeah. You need to up your game a little bit with that.
Gotcha. So keep yourself challenged mentally.
Keep it challenged, absolutely. And the indicator and the big thing with social activity is because you're dealing from one human to another or one human to a group, humans are unpredictable. So if you've got social interaction going, that's a really, really great challenge for your brain because every one of us, even to right now, we're sitting in a room, but yet we're still interacting with someone.
Right.
You don't know what the other person may say next. You don't know what's going to happen. We're sitting here quietly hoping and praying that our phone doesn't ring and make noise, all these kind of things. There's all this cognitive activity. Like, on average, we as just human beings, we process 70,000 messages a day in our brain.
Oh, that's a lot.
So
no wonder we're stressed out.
Exactly. So if we're cutting that down even by half, you're just not using your brain. Your brain is a muscle. You have to keep it active.
That's a really good way to look at it, is keeping it active like a muscle, like working it out. But I think, one of the hard things on the side of the family is you don't want to upset that person too. So, that's tricky to find that balance, right? Of keeping them engaged and interacting with them socially, but trying not to upset them or get into any type of confrontation, right?
So before you start seeing someone that is just like not going to bingo or not going to whatever, are they no longer getting up and getting dressed every day? Have their hygiene habits changed? Are they not preparing for the world? Are they not preparing to be in the world? Okay. That would be an even quicker indicator to say, hey, something's not there. They are withdrawing. They are slowing down. Okay, things like that. So when you start seeing that, figure out what's happening. If they no longer want to get up and get dressed and go to bingo or whatever it is that they're doing, let's find something to replace it.
Okay,
let's find something to keep it going.
Keep them going. Well, Donna, thank you so much. I think we're out of time for right now, but. I've been talking to Donna Lee. You're listening to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks. And Donna, if someone needs some help from the Alzheimer's Association, how would they get in touch with them?
So you would call the Alzheimer's Association 24/7 helpline. It's open 24/7, 365 a year. You reach a real live person, not an automated system, and you reach them by calling 1-800-272-3900.
Great. And we'll also put that on elderlawhour.com if you want to head on over to our website, and we'll have a link for that. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back.
This is Vicki Oakes, your St. Johns County Supervisor of Elections. The 2024 elections are coming. They will be here soon. Are you election ready? If not, and you need to be, you can visit our website at votesjc.gov. That's votesjc.gov, or contact our office at 904-823-2238. Make sure you are election ready.
Welcome back to the Elder Law Hour. And to end the show today, I want to talk about a question that I got recently from a client that was asking about whether or not a revocable trust can help you protect your assets. And I wanted to quickly answer this question with a no. A revocable trust doesn't give you asset protection. What it does is help your family hopefully avoid probate. It is simply a vehicle to hold title to your assets so that you have in your personal name and that you do not have a designated beneficiary for. It holds title to assets so that they do not have to be retitled after your death by the court process. So it will not protect you from creditors or offer you any type of asset protection, but trust me, revocable trusts do have a lot of other benefits. So thanks for asking, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Elder Law Hour. If you'd like to connect with me or learn more about today's episode, please visit us at elderlawhour.com. I've also included a guide for you, a free guide about trusts. It's the ultimate guide to choosing a will or trust, and I've included that for you on elderlawhour.com. So head on over to that website and take a look and get your free guide if you are interested in setting up a revocable trust and finding out what the differences are between just having that and a will. So I'm Emily Hicks. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks. Join us this and every Saturday for the Elder Law Hour with Emily Hicks.